Alright, y'all, so let's make one thing clear. If you were to tell me at 14 years old that I would be a college athlete, I would honestly probably tell you the hard work finally paid off. But if you were to tell me that it was for anything other than basketball, I'd honestly probably think you're lying. Growing up, I literally loved basketball so much I ate, worked, and slept in the gym. I was a gym rat. But coming into my junior year of high school, plans for my hoop dreams started to unravel. Right before the season got started, I got nailed in the back of the head with the basketball, and yes, oddly enough, it gave me a concussion. Now, based off of how minor this injury seems, you'd think I'd recover pretty quickly, but for some reason, it took much longer than expected. Eventually, I did come back though, and on my first play returning for varsity, I got elbowed right in the side of the head, and just like that, I was back on the bench, sitting out and recovering. So around this time, I started wondering what was next for me, and I began to hear God telling me to give basketball up. Now that might not seem like a big deal, but at this moment, literally basketball was my idol, and I think that's exactly why He told me to let it go. So now, after all my training of the previous summer went down the drain, I was sitting wondering what was next for me, but I felt like God was just telling me to wait and trust Him. So I did, and lo and behold, I had an opportunity to join the track and field team at my high school. So at the time, I didn't know much about track other than people ran fast and it looked like it hurt a lot, and I was right, but I still joined anyway. And since I could dunk, I first tried to, be a long jumper or a high jumper, and I quickly found out that was not my gifting. So I turned to sprinting thinking I had nothing left to lose. I realized I could kind of hang around the group of guys with me, but truly I thought I'd end up being the worst person on the team. Now I wish I could tell you I was an overnight success, but that really wasn't the case. At my first meet, I was put in the fastest heat with the fastest kid in Missouri. The fastest kid, no exaggeration. So during my first 100-meter dash, I got absolutely dusted. Realizing I must have made a mistake, I started feeling like maybe I should have stuck with basketball, but I still had to come back for my 200-meter dash, and I ended up finishing third overall. After that, I thought, well, maybe I won't be half bad. And soon my confidence grew, and well, you could tell. I started winning race after race, with terrible form by the way, but eventually I started to become the best in my area. That year we went on to win conference for the first time in years, and I became a conference champion in 3 events. Riding this high, I wanted to see how far I can make it into the postseason. At my district meet, I did decent enough on my 100 meter and 200 meter to squeak myself into sectionals for both events. But I knew to make it out of sectionals, it would take a whole lot of faith, and honestly a miracle. And even then it might not work. I remember in my 100 meter dash at sectionals, I was so nervous my teammate holding my blocks told me my back leg was shaking. And as soon as the gun shot, so did my nerves, and I ended up getting dead last in my heat. My team ended up losing the 4x2 as well, and all I had left was the 200 meters. So much like the beginning of my season, it all depended right here on this 200 meters at the end of the meet. I remember thinking, if this was it, and I guess this was it was a good ride. And by the time the 200 rolled around, I just blacked out completely. And again placed third to punch my ticket to state. Now before I talk about what happened at state, allow me to explain how Missouri athletics works in track and field. There are 5 classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 having the lowest population of students and 5 having the most. So by being a class 4A school, I was slated to face some serious competition. I remember all the hype leading up to state, the excitement. We even made the news a little bit. I hadn't even taken track seriously, and now I had the chance to represent my city at the highest level. It was thoughts like this that made me put just a little too much pressure on myself, and before I knew it, the big day came. Alright y'all, so I remember this race clear as day. So I was in lane 7, all these people on the gate beside me just lined up staring straight at me. Now, when we came out the blocks and the gun went off, honestly I came off the curve decently well. I was working it. And I had some momentum coming off, but right before I transitioned into the straight, my right foot heel struck, and then I ended up losing like stride and a half, and as minuscule as that sounds, it really does make the difference. And then from there, I feel like I couldn't make up the rest of the race, and then I ended up finishing in a really bad place. So from there, I finished 11th overall. I just had this feeling that I could have done more. I could have executed at a higher level than what I did, and that ate me up so much that literally coming into the next year, I vowed to myself that I would never feel that same way again. Alright guys, so sorry to cut it off right there. I just want to thank y'all if you made it this far for watching. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Much love y'all. I will see y'all next Monday for part 2 of my track and field journey.